I woke up as Ethan, the protagonist who was condemned by the entire internet in a campus novel. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of the school's bulletin board plastered with big character posters denouncing me, accusing me of maliciously reporting and causing the outstanding student Dylan to lose his only guaranteed spot for graduate school. And my girlfriend Sophia was there, pointing at me with a group of people. She told me in grief and anger, "Ethan, how could you be so vicious? Is it just because you're jealous that Dylan is better than you?" I hadn't had time to process the memory when the barrage of comments explained everything for me. Classic plot. It's that department heartthrob who plagiarized his own thesis, afraid of being found out. So he sabotaged the male lead's computer in advance, used the male lead's ID to report himself, and then played the victim to frame the male lead. Exactly. The heroine believed it and led the bullying of the male lead, forcing him to drop out. In the end, the heartthrob went abroad and crashed, and only then did she learn the truth and chase the male lead to Los Angeles, where he was working to beg for forgiveness. But the male lead clearly had a backup of the surveillance footage showing the heartthrob entering his dorm. Why didn't he say anything? I'm dying of suspense. I looked at the righteously indignant Sophia and the angry crowd behind her and smiled. You want me to wait until I drop out to make you regret it? I pulled out my phone, called Mr. Lewis the counselor, and put on speaker. Mr. Lewis, about the complaint regarding graduate admissions. I think this is serious. I've already sent the surveillance footage of Senior Dylan entering my dorm and accessing my computer, along with the source file links showing his plagiarism, to your DR. Marcus's department email addresses. To be fair, I also CC'd the school's discipline committee and the education department's public inboxes. Ethan, what did you just say? Sophia's voice trembled slightly. She seemed unable to believe what she had heard. What I said, didn't you hear everything? I put my phone away, my gaze calmly sweeping over her before settling on Dylan beside her. Dylan, you're with me on this, right? Dylan's lips trembled, his eyes darting away, completely unable to meet mine. That guilty look of his was the best proof. The people around weren't fools. Whispers began to rise. Surveillance footage? For real. They even sent it to the Discipline Inspection Commission and the Education Department? Damn, this has blown up, hasn't it? If what Ethan said is true, then this Dylan is disgusting. He reported himself to frame someone else. Terrifying when you think about it. He usually looks broad-browed and big-eyed. Who would have thought? In just that short minute, the tide of public opinion had shifted subtly. Sophia looked at Dylan's deathly pale face, then at my calm expression, and it seemed her mind finally started to turn. Her complexion shifted from shock to bewilderment, then from bewilderment to a hint of panic. No, that's impossible. Dylan isn't that kind of person. Ethan, are you mistaken about something? She was still trying to struggle, still trying to defend that perfect image she had in her heart. Am I mistaken? The security footage will explain everything. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her any longer, and turned to leave this den of trouble. Ethan, stop. Dylan finally came to his senses. He stepped forward, trying to block me, forcing a look of anger and innocence onto his face. This is slander. Por slander. On what basis do you say I went into your dorm? That video must be fake. He began to act like a cornered dog. Yes, it must be fake. Sophia, as if clutching at a lifeline, immediately chimed in. With AI face-swapping technology so advanced now, what's hard about faking a video? Ethan, I never thought you'd stoop to such despicable means to frame Dylan. Hearing that, I stopped, turned around, and smiled. Smiled very happily. Here it comes, the classic heroine mindlessly defending the male supporting character. I really can't. It's come to this, and she's still speaking up for a stranger. Feeling sorry for the original owner. Ending up with a thing like this is truly 8 generations of bad luck. The Damaku floated by at the right moment, accurately voicing my thoughts. Sophia, do you know? I looked at her and said word by word, what makes you most pathetic isn't that you're stupid, but that you're stupid and don't realize it. You always think you're standing on the moral high ground, waving the flag of righteousness, But in reality, you're just the most useful knife in someone else's hand. It's used up, you can throw it away anytime. After saying that, I ignored her face going deathly pale, pushed through the crowd, and walked away. Behind me, Dylan was roaring in a fury, while Sophia stood there stunned. I didn't look back. The opening act of this play was over. Next, it was just a matter of waiting for the school authorities to take the stage. Back in the dorm, my roommate Jake was pacing anxiously. When he saw me, he rushed over. "Ethan, are you okay? I just heard Sophia brought a bunch of people to corner you. Those bastards didn't lay a hand on you, did they?" Jake was the original owner's only friend at this school, straight-talking and loyal. In the original owner's memories, he was the only one who believed in his innocence from start to finish. "I'm Phoenix." I patted his shoulder, a warmth passing through me. "Don't worry, if anything's supposed to happen, it won't be me." Sure enough, barely had I sat down in the dorm when Mr. Lewis, the counselor, called again. This time his tone was noticeably heavier than before. "Ethan, come to my office right now. Dr. Marcus is here too." "Okay, Mr. Lewis." I hung up and said to Jake, "Jake, do me a favor. Take that micro camera off my desk and put it away. Don't let anyone else touch it." Jake paused for a moment, then suddenly understood. "Damn, Ethan, you were prepared. All right, go ahead. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on that thing like a hawk." I nodded and got up to go to the office. I pushed the door open. Dr. Marcus and Mr. Lewis were both seated inside, their expressions serious. Dr. Marcus was a man in his 50s, wearing glasses and looking very dignified. "Ethan, have a seat." Dr. Marcus gestured to the chair opposite. I pulled out a chair and sat down, looking perfectly composed. "The things you sent to our email, we've all reviewed." Dr. Marcus pushed up his glasses, his gaze sharp as he looked at me. "The video is very clear, but we need to verify its authenticity. Also, why did you install a camera in the dormitory?" This was a question I had expected. I answered calmly. "Dr. Marcus, Mr. Lewis, the reason I installed the camera is simple. Last month our dorm was broken into, and I lost a watch worth $200. It wasn't expensive, but it made me feel unsettled. Reporting it to the police yielded no results, so I bought a miniature camera and put it on my desk pointing at the door, just in case for peace of mind. My roommate Jake can attest to this. As for the authenticity of the video, I can vouch for it with my character. There is not a shred of falsification. The camera has a built-in timestamp that cannot be altered. Besides the video, I'm also providing direct evidence of Dylan's plagiarism. The source file link and PDF of that foreign journal paper. Comparing the two articles, I believe any teacher with academic sense can see it. The similarity exceeds 70%, especially in the core arguments and data models, which are almost verbatim translations. My tone was neither servile nor arrogant, and my points were presented clearly. Dr. Marcus and Mr. Lewis exchanged a glance, each seeing a flash of surprise in the other's eyes. They probably didn't expect that I, who usually seemed somewhat introverted and quiet, could act so calm and methodical at this moment. We have already submitted the video and thesis materials to the school's technical department and academic committee for authentication. Mr. Lewis said, "Before the results come out, we want you to stay calm and refrain from making any public statements to prevent the situation from escalating further." "I understand, Mr. Lewis." I nodded. The reason I acted the way I did today was completely out of desperation. The bulletin boards were plastered with big character posters. My girlfriend publicly accused me, with people watching, and if I didn't speak up for myself, I'd probably be forced to withdraw from school by tomorrow. There was a hint of grievance in my words, but more than that was a firm insistence on defending my case. Dr. Marcus was silent for a moment, then said, "The school will not wrong a good person, nor will it let a bad person go unpunished. Go back and wait for news." "Thank you, Dr. Marcus." "Thank you, Mr. Lewis." I stood up, bowed, and turned to leave the office. I knew my first move was already secure. Next, it was up to Dylan to respond. Sure enough, that afternoon, a new post appeared on the campus forum. The poster was a die-hard supporter of Dylan, tearfully describing in the thread how kind and innocent Dylan was, and how devastated and crushed he was upon learning he had been slandered. The post also included several photos of Dylan receiving 4 drips in the hospital, captioned, "The innocent will be vindicated, but rumors are fiercer than tigers. The senior has already fallen ill under the pressure." Immediately after, a so-called computer was also posted, analyzing from a technical perspective that the video I provided showed signs of editing and compositing. As soon as the post appeared, it instantly drew another wave of sympathy and support. "I told you Dylan is such a good person. There's no way he would do something like that. Poor Dylan, being wronged so horribly by villains. Ethan is just vicious. He's trying to drive someone to death." And among all this, my ex-girlfriend, Sophia, once again played the role of the vanguard. She was almost the first to rush down to the dormitory building and called me. I looked at the 2 words Sophia on the phone screen, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my mouth, and I hung up immediately. Soon the phone rang again, persistently. I hung up again, then added her number to the blacklist. The world quieted down. Good call blocking her. A woman like that shouldn't be given any chance to speak. Nice. I love how decisive the male lead is. She's probably going to be furious. Ha ha ha. The comment stream erupted in celebration. It didn't take long before Jake's call came through. "Ethan, Sophie is downstairs acting like a lunatic, insisting on seeing you. Do you want to go down?" "Don't see her." My answer was short and blunt. "Tell her to get lost." "Got it." Jake hung up. I walked to the window, drew back a corner of the curtain, and sure enough saw Sophia standing below with a face full of anxiety and anger. She kept trying to call me. When she couldn't get through, she stamped her foot in fury. Soon Jake appeared before her, probably conveying what I had said. I watched Sophia's expression shift in an instant from anxious to incredulous, then to raging fury. She was pointing at the dormitory building, shouting something at Jake with intense emotion. Unfortunately, it was too far away to hear clearly. But it didn't matter. I could guess. It was nothing more than her accusing me of being so heartless, asking why I had to go so far, why I couldn't cherish past feelings, and other such rubbish. As expected, before long my foreign social apps started blowing up with notifications. They were all from her. "Ethan, get down here. Explain yourself clearly. Why did you block me? Are you feeling guilty? Dylan is in a hospital because of you. Are you satisfied? How can your heart be so cruel? Our relationship of over 2 years means nothing to you? You had to destroy him out of jealousy to feel content." Seeing these twisted accusations, I don't even feel like replying. I open her chat window and leisurely type a line. "First, we're breaking up. From a moment you and your people blocked me and publicly accused me. Second, whether Dylan is alive or dead is none of my business. He brought this on himself. It's his own fault. Third, don't bring up those 2 laughable years of our relationship. A woman who, when her boyfriend was slandered, blindly sided with outsiders and stabbed her own boyfriend in the back has no right to talk to me about relationships. Fourth, and finally, don't bother me again. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to hand over to the school's discipline committee the screenshots of how you led the class group and campus bulletin platform to stir up public opinion, personally insult me, and carry out online bullying. Take care of yourself." After sending those messages, I didn't hesitate to click delete friend. The whole operation flowed like water. Downstairs, Sophia stared at her phone screen, her whole body frozen. She probably didn't expect me to reply, and even less expected my response to be so cold and resolute. The anger on her face faded, replaced by a look of bewilderment and pallor. She stood where she was like a statue stripped of its soul, allowing the pointing fingers and strange gazes around her to engulf her. I knew my words were like an awl, driving hard into that self-righteous glass heart of hers. The sound of breaking should be quite pleasing to the ear. Sophia walked away in a daze. But Dylan's counterattack had only just begun. His combo of playing the victim and using technical debunking did stir up some ripples among the people who didn't know the truth. Many people began to waver, thinking the situation might really be turning around. Dylan struck while the iron was hot and accepted an online interview from the school reporter. In the interview, he wept and spoke passionately, casting himself as a perfect victim maliciously slandered by jealous rivals. He claimed his family was poor, that being recommended for graduate study was his only chance to change his fate, and that I, out of jealousy over his recommendation, had meticulously fabricated evidence to frame him. He even implied that my family was well off, that I didn't care about a recommended admission slot, and that ruining him was only to satisfy my own dark impulses. Once that interview was published, it again ignited campus public opinion. His stirring inflamed resentment toward the rich and sympathy for the weak to the extreme. For a while, I was once again labeled that bullying, vicious, rich second generation. I told you it's so hard for a kid from a poor family to get ahead. Ethan's family is so rich. Why does he have to pick on a poor student? You can know a person's face, but not their heart. So disgusting. Jake looked at the comments on the forum, so angry he almost smashed his phone. These idiots. Has their brain been eaten by dogs? They believe whatever that Dylan says. He looked at me, worry all over his face. Ethan, what do we do now? That bastard's a great actor. The public opinion is really against us. But I wasn't worried at all. I even had the mood to start game. Don't worry, Jake. I operated the character while saying lightly, let him jump. The higher he jumps, the harder he'll fall. Public opinion is like a bubble. It looks impressive, but it pops with a poke. What really decides victory or defeat has never been who shouts the loudest, but who holds the hard evidence. All of Dylan's performances now rest on one premise, that my video was fabricated. Once that foundation is broken, all his previous acts of playing the victim and his lies will turn into slaps he's smacking against his own face. And each slap will be louder than the last. He thinks getting some so-called expert friend to post a technical analysis will muddy the waters? Too naive. The school's tech department experts aren't just dead weight. Moreover, he seemed to have forgotten one thing. What I submitted to the school was not just the video. There was also the link to the source file of his plagiarized paper. That thing is even more ironclad than video evidence. Indisputable. The more he jumps for joy now, the more swollen his face will be once the school's official assessment comes out. Ethan, do you have any backup plan? Jake, seeing the confident look on my face, asked curiously. I smiled, but didn't answer directly. Just wait and enjoy the show. For the next 2 days, I completely switched into a mode of ears closed to everything outside. No browsing forums, no replying on foreign social apps, just classes, eating, gaming, and sleeping every day. No matter how turbulent things got outside, I remained unmoved. This calm attitude, on the contrary, made some people start to have doubts. As for Dylan, he grew increasingly impatient. He kept posting updates of his tragic condition on various social platforms. Sometimes a photo of him studying late at night, sometimes a picture of needles in the back of his hand, sometimes a gratitude post thanking friends for their support. The acting was so superb, it could rival an Oscar-winning actor. Sophia also became his devoted follower, trailing him everywhere, fretting over his welfare, looking every bit the protector of the world's best senior. The two of them, one performing and the other fawning, put on a melodrama that was wildly successful. Until the third day, the opportunity I'd been waiting for finally arrived. On the afternoon of the third day, Jake suddenly burst into the dorm holding his phone, his face bright with excitement. Ethan, look. That foreign original author Dylan plagiarized has spoken out. I perked up and immediately moved closer. On Jake's phone screen was a screenshot from a foreign academic forum. A Chinese-American scholar named David Chung posted a sharply worded statement in both Chinese and English. In the statement, he explicitly pointed out that Dylan from our university's computer science department, in one of his award-winning papers, had severely plagiarized a paper that he had published in an international journal 3 years earlier. Professor David Chung detailed the overlapping parts of the two papers, including the core algorithm, data charts, and experimental conclusions, and attached comparative screenshots. He also stated that he had never authorized anyone to use his research results, and that he would reserve the right to pursue legal responsibility for such egregious academic misconduct. Most importantly, at the end of the statement, he made a point of thanking an anonymous Chinese student, saying it was this student who alerted him by email and made him aware that his work had been stolen. The moment this statement came out, it detonated like a heavy bomb and set the entire school abuzz. What the hell? It's confirmed. The original author came out to confirm it. What does Dylan have left to say now? His face must be completely busted. That anonymous Chinese student must be Ethan, right? Amazing. He actually got in touch with the original author. The people who defended Dylan before, where are you? Come out and take a walk. Does your face hurt? At this moment, the campus forum's tide of opinion completely, utterly, overwhelmingly turned against me. The posts that had sympathized with Dylan and insulted me were instantly drowned out by furious denunciations. Dylan and his supporters became like rats crossing the street, utterly disgraced. I looked at that statement and smiled in satisfaction. That's right, that anonymous Chinese student was me. When I sent the evidence to the school, I also sent an email to Professor David Chung. I explained the situation in detail and attached a comparison file of the two papers. I know that for a rigorous scholar, the one thing he cannot tolerate is having his life's work stolen. He will certainly stand up to defend his rights, and his speaking out will be the final straw that breaks Dylan. This is my backup plan. A killer blow he could never imagine and could not refute. By now, Dylan was probably cowering in some corner, trembling. The web of lies he had painstakingly woven was mercilessly torn to shreds by me. The good student with excellent character persona he had painstakingly cultivated collapsed overnight. And my so-called ex-girlfriend, Sophia, wasn't doing any better. The higher she had leapt before, the harder she fell now. She became the biggest laughingstock in the whole school. That Sophia, truly blind in the eyes and blind in the heart. For the sake of a plagiarist, she fell out with her own boyfriend. I'm dying laughing. Didn't she pride herself on being a crusader for justice? Now that justice has arrived, why is she silent? I don't even need to look to imagine her expression right now. It must be quite the spectacle. Ding dong. My phone buzzed. A friend request. I tapped it open and saw it was from Sophia. Her profile picture had been changed to a patch of gray, and her display name was "Now Sorry." In the request message, there were only 3 characters. I was wrong. I looked at those 3 characters and expressionlessly tapped ignore. Only saying it's wrong now? Too late. The original author's outcry became the straw that broke the camel's back. The school's response was very swift. That same evening, the school's official website posted a sternly worded notice. The notice contained 3 main points. First, after appraisal by the school's technical department, the surveillance footage I submitted was verified as authentic, with no signs of fabrication or editing. Second, after joint appraisal by the University Academic Committee and external experts, Dylan's award-winning paper was found to contain serious plagiarism. The facts are clear and the evidence conclusive. Third, in view of Dylan's malicious framing of others, serious academic misconduct, and multiple other violations, with extremely heinous circumstances and very bad consequences, the university has decided, effective immediately, to suspend him from all courses and to establish a special investigation team to carry out further inquiry and handling. Once the announcement was issued, there was no further dispute. Dylan was thoroughly nailed to the pillar of shame. Those who had previously waved flags and cheered for him all deleted posts or issued apologies, fearing any association with this academic fraud. As for me, I transformed from a vicious, rich second generation into a lone, brave soul who fears no power and exposes the corruption. Ethan is amazing. This counterattack is practically textbook level. Good thing he held on, otherwise that petty person would have succeeded. The school should give Ethan a bravery award. Looking at these comments, I felt nothing inside. Everything I did wasn't for any hollow fame, but to reclaim the justice that rightfully belonged to the original owner, and to make those who hurt him pay the price they deserve. The next morning, Mr. Lewis called me, his tone warm and friendly. Ethan, everything's clear now. The school will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. You've been wronged. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I trust the school, I replied politely. About Dylan, the investigation team wants to ask you about some more details. Are you available this morning? If you have time, Mr. Lewis. All right. Then come to conference room 302 in the administration building at 10 o'clock. After hanging up, I tidied up briefly and got ready to go out. Jake leaned in, winking and grinning. Ethan, you're a celebrity at our school now. I heard Dylan's recommendation slot was revoked, and the department is considering giving the slot to you. Is that so? I smiled faintly. I don't value this recommended admission spot as much as the original owner did. With my current abilities and outlook, there are many paths ahead. I don't have to limit myself to doing a graduate degree in the country. Still, if it were taken from Dylan, that would feel pretty good. I went to administrative building 302 and pushed the door open. There were 3 people seated in the meeting room. Besides Mr. Lewis, there was Dr. Marcus, and the other was MS. Elena from the school's disciplinary committee, all wearing very serious expressions. When they saw me enter, they all stood up. Ethan, please have a seat. This time's treatment was night and day compared to the last time in the counselor's office. After I sat down, Ms. Elena got straight to the point. Ethan, the reason we called you in this time is mainly to double-check whether, aside from the video and the paper as evidence, you have any other leads about Dylan's misconduct? I looked at her and pondered for a moment. In my mind, the barrage of comments reappeared. Spill it. Tell everyone about Dylan taking money to ghostwrite papers and cheat on exams. Right? And about him using his student council position to swindle financial aid meant for needy students. Expose it all. Make sure he never recovers. Watching these barrage comments, I understood everything. It seems this Dylan really is a treasure boy. I looked at the expectant expressions of the 3 teachers before me and decided to add fuel to the fire. Mr. Lewis, Dr. Marcus, Ms. Elena. Actually, besides this incident, I've heard some other rumors about Dylan before. I deliberately put on a somewhat hesitant expression, but feel free to speak. Ms. Elena encouraged. I heard that Dylan once used his position in the student council to fix things for other students, like awards and honors, and even slots for scholarships. Of course, these are just rumors. I don't have direct evidence. I only spoke half of it, but left it at that. I believe that with Ms. Elena's acuity, she would surely hear the implication. Sure enough, Ms. Elena and Dr. Marcus exchanged a look, their expressions growing even graver. Scholarship. Dr. Marcus frowned tightly. This is not a trivial matter. Ethan, thank you for the lead. We'll begin the investigation immediately, Ms. Elena said sternly. I nodded, saying nothing more. I knew that with this lead, Dylan's fate would only be worse than in the original storyline. Stepping out of the conference room, the sunlight was just right. I took a deep breath of fresh air and felt utterly refreshed. Just as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw the one person I least wanted to see. Sophia. She was standing under a tree not far away, looking much more haggard, her eyes swollen and red, obviously had been crying. When she saw me, she immediately ran over and stood in front of me. Ethan, her voice was hoarse with a hint of pleading, can we talk? There's nothing to talk about between us. I stepped around her, ready to leave. I was wrong. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. She grabbed my arm from behind, and tears instantly streamed down her face. I shouldn't have doubted you. I shouldn't have defended Dylan. I'm such a fool, such a bastard. Scold me, hit me, do whatever you want. Please, I'm begging you, forgive me, okay? She cried with tear-streaked cheeks, looking pitiful and delicate. If she were still the original owner, seeing her like this, she'd have probably softened long ago. Unfortunately, I'm not. I forcefully shook off her hand, my gaze cold as ice as I looked at her. Sophia, save your cheap tears. Your apology is worth nothing to me. You only realize your mistake now? Too late. When you led a group of people to judge me like a criminal, when you trampled on our more than 2 years relationship for the sake of an outsider, You should have anticipated today. The mistake you made can't be wiped away with a single sorry. I'm not a garbage dump, and I won't trip over the same piece of trash twice. My words were like knives, mercilessly plunging into her heart. She was so berated that her face went deathly pale, her whole body trembling, unable to utter a single word. Also, don't come to bother me again. I leaned toward her, lowered my voice to a volume only the two of us could hear, and said, "Otherwise, I can't promise I won't print out those righteously indignant screenshots of you online and plaster them all over the hallway of your dorm." After speaking, I stopped looking at her, turned, and strode away. Behind me, her suppressed, uncontrollable sobbing came through. That cry. Honestly, it sounded quite pleasant. Back in the dorm, Jake was holding my meal card, about to head to the cafeteria. "Ethan, you're back? Want something to eat? Your brother brought you something. Sweet and sour pork, plus a chicken drumstick." "All right." Watching Jake's elated back, I smiled. This is what a friend is. As for Sophia, she was just a passerby in the journey of my life, a lesson. A reminder to never harbor illusions about stupidity and betrayal, a negative example. In the days that followed, Dylan completely vanished from the school. I heard that the disciplinary committee's investigation was intense. They dug up everything from his university years. You don't know until you look, and once you do, you're shocked. This guy who usually looks like a proper gentleman has been doing so many dirty deeds behind people's backs, it's impossible to list them all. Taking money to ghostwrite papers, using his position to resell event tickets, falsifying application materials for students claiming financial need. Each one of those alone would be enough to get him expelled 100 times over. When the final investigation results came out, everyone was stunned. On the school's bulletin board, a disciplinary decision 3 pages long was posted. Dylan, for multiple serious violations of school rules, has been formally expelled and ordered to return all improperly obtained gains. At the same time, the school has handed the relevant materials over to the judicial authorities, and he may also face legal sanctions. This news set the whole school abuzz. Expelled. Holy crap, that's the harshest punishment, right? Serves him right. Scum like that should be kicked out of school. Refreshing to the core. Thanks to Ethan for ridding us of a menace. As for Dylan, upon learning of the disciplinary decision, he was completely driven to desperation. That night, I was in the dorm playing online games with Jake when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. I answered casually and put on speaker. On the other end of the line came Dylan's cold, venomous voice. "Ethan, it's you, it's all your fault. I have nothing left, and you won't have it easy either. Just you wait, I won't let you off." A naked threat. Jake frowned as he listened from the side. This bastard's gone crazy, hasn't he? Still daring to threaten you? And yet I smiled. Just in time. I said calmly into the phone, "Dylan, have you forgotten? The law says that threatening others, when the circumstances are serious, can be punishable by imprisonment. I'm recording this entire call right now. Tell me, if I hand this recording over to the police, how do you think they'll deal with you?" On the other end of the line, Dylan's breathing abruptly grew heavy. He probably hadn't expected that I would still be so calm at this point, even reciting laws to him. He ed for a long time, unable to utter a single complete sentence. I advise you to spend more time thinking about how to explain this to your parents and how to face the prison sentence ahead. As for me, you needn't trouble yourself. After speaking, I hung up the phone immediately. Then, in front of Jake, I packaged that recording together with the unknown number and sent them to Mr. Lewis. I attached a single line. "Mr. Lewis, I feel my personal safety is threatened. I'm a little scared." Haha, the male lead is so naive. "I'm a little scared," laughs. Killing and condemning his heart. They're trying to ruin Dylan completely. Well done. You can't show any mercy to scum like that. The barrage of comments cheered. Jake stared at my move, dumbfounded, and finally gave me a thumbs up. "Ethan, you're my real brother. That move was brilliant." I smiled and picked up the game controller again. The game continues. I knew that Dylan's act had only truly come to an end at this point. A pathetic clown who couldn't even take a bow without looking utterly embarrassed. Dylan's threatening phone calls became the final straw that broke him. I heard the police found him that very night. With both witness testimony and physical evidence, he didn't even have a chance to make excuses. In the end, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison after multiple charges were combined. A once promising top student from a prestigious school had literally handed himself over to prison. How ironic. And with Dylan's complete downfall, the school also compensated me. After meetings and deliberation, the department unanimously agreed to award the vacant graduate recommendation spot to me. Moreover, the school even awarded me a principal special award to recognize my outstanding contribution to upholding academic integrity and the righteous spirit of the campus. For a time, I was unrivaled in my glory. From a much-hated, vicious scoundrel, I became the universally praised campus hero. This dramatic reversal became the talk of many. But I took it all back with a very casual attitude. I was simply reclaiming everything that rightfully belonged to me. What truly made me happy was being completely freed from the mire of the past, especially Sophia. Since the last time I exposed her in public and threatened her with screenshots, she completely settled down. She never came to find me again, nor did she send any more messages. I heard she had a hard time at school. No matter where she went, people would whisper and point at her behind her back. Those friends who used to gather around her now all keep their distance from her. She had truly become a solitary, lonely person. The feeling of being abandoned and isolated by the whole world, she finally experienced it herself. This is the price she should have paid back when she led the bullying against me. After the final exams ended and the Christmas break arrived, I packed my things and prepared to go home. When I walked out of the dormitory building, I unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. It was Sophia. She stood not far away, more haggard and thin than before, her face as pale as a sheet of paper. When she saw me, she didn't rush over like last time. She just stood at a distance, looking at me with a complicated expression. In her eyes there was remorse, unwillingness, pain, and a hint of pleading. I kept my gaze straight ahead, pulled my suitcase, and walked past her as if she were an irrelevant stranger. Just as we brushed past each other, I heard her, in a barely audible voice, say one sentence. "I'm sorry, and congratulations." I didn't stop. I walked straight toward the school gate. What meaning is there in a belated apology and congratulations? A broken mirror can never be made whole again. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never heal. I will not forgive her. Never. If I forgive her, then who will forgive the original owner who, in despair, dropped out of school and eventually died of melancholy? That Christmas break was exceptionally peaceful for me. No more entanglement with Sophia, and none of the headaches like Dylan. I put all my energy into my major studies and preparing for graduate school. Occasionally, a few comments would still drift across the screen. "Oh, Sophia seems a bit off." Lately, she's been posting some really gloomy things on social media. Things like, "If I could start over, nothing can ever go back," and the like. Could she be thinking of doing something desperate? I saw those comments and just sneered. Lost her mind? From what I know of Sophia, a person as selfish and self-centered as she is more afraid of death than anyone. Her putting on this act of life or death desperation is nothing more than a bid for sympathy. Perhaps she even clings to the faint hope that me seeing her so agonized will soften me, make me turn back. Unfortunately for her, she miscalculated. I'm not a saint, much less a philanthropist. Whether her life turns out well or badly is no longer my concern. After school started, I returned to campus and quickly threw myself into my new studies and life. I thought the story between Sophia and me had been completely closed. But unexpectedly, she reappeared in my world in a way I never could have imagined. That day, I was reading in a library when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. On the other end was the voice of a middle-aged woman, her tone very unfriendly. "Is this Ethan? I'm Sophia's mother, Mrs. Taylor." I frowned. Sophia's mother? What does she want with me? "Hello, Mrs. Taylor. May I ask what this is about?" I kept up basic politeness. "What is it about?" "My daughter is almost depressed because of you. and you still ask me, what's the matter? Mrs. Taylor's voice suddenly rose, full of accusation and resentment. You're a boy. How can your heart be so cruel? Sophia only made a small mistake back then, didn't she? She knows she was wrong and has apologized to you. Why won't you forgive her? You young people date and break up all the time. Isn't that normal? Did you have to go so far, do something so final, that you'd only be satisfied by driving my daughter to death? Listening to her barrage of accusations, I almost laughed with anger. A small mistake? They led the online bullying against me, driving me to the brink of dropping out. Is that just a minor mistake? They're truly a den of snakes and rats. Like mother, like daughter. Mrs. Taylor. I cut her off, my voice turning cold. First of all, your daughter and I have broken up. Whatever happens to her now has nothing to do with me. Secondly, what she did back then wasn't a small mistake. It was a big mistake that nearly ruined my life. That I didn't call the police to hold her legally accountable is my greatest act of mercy. Finally, please keep your daughter in check, and please stop harassing me from now on. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to tell your relatives, friends, and neighbors exactly everything your daughter did to me back then, down to the last detail, and let them judge for themselves who drove whom into a dead end. Beep, beep, beep. I didn't wait for her to reply. I hung up the phone. Arguing with someone who can't see straight is useless. Only by threatening her in the way she fears, most will she behave. As expected, after that, Mrs. Taylor never called again. And Sophia finally arrived at her crematorium. I had thought that after I'd put her in her place like that once, Sophia and her family would give up for good. But I had still underestimated the tenacity of her whole family. A few days later, on a weekend afternoon, Jake suddenly ran back to the dorm with a strange look on his face. Ethan, guess who I saw at the school gate? Who? Sophia and her parents. Jake looked incredulous. The three of them, carrying big bags and small parcels of gifts. By the look of it, they seem like they're coming to you to beg for forgiveness. I frowned. They really won't cry until they see the coffin. Here it comes, the classic family visit moral blackmail segment. Male lead, don't soften. Tell them to get lost. I bet a pack of spicy strips that the male lead will keep them from even entering the dorm building. The viewers' guesses were spot on. I called the security guard downstairs, Mr. Lee Porter. Hello, Mr. Lee Porter. This is Ethan from 502. A family of 3 might come looking for me in a bit. Could you please stop them and say I'm not home? Mr. Lee Porter, the security guard, was a helpful man. He knew I was the victim after the whole fuss about Dylan last time. He agreed without hesitation. Don't worry, Ethan. I'll take care of it. Sure enough, before long my phone rang. It was Sophia. I had blocked her usual number, so she switched to a new one. I answered the call, and before she could speak, I said straight away, don't waste your effort. I won't see any of you. Ethan, her voice was choked with tears. My parents just want to apologize to you in person. We mean no harm. Please, won't you just see us once? No, I refused coldly. I'll say it one last time. We're over. I can't accept and don't want an apology from your family. From now on, we go our separate ways and don't bother each other. That's the best outcome between us. If you insist on making a scene, I won't mind seeing it through to the end. After speaking, I hung up again and blocked the number. Downstairs, Sophia and her parents, despite the security guard's attempts to stop them, ultimately couldn't get up. I looked down from the window and saw Sophia's father, so angry his face had turned ashen. Mrs. Taylor was pointing at the dormitory building, continuously cursing something under her breath. As for Sophia, she just stood there dazed, tears slipping down her face in silence. Their whole family, like a farcical comedy, left in disarray amid the pointing and whispering of the passing students. From then on, Sophia seemed to have evaporated from this world. I heard that she had taken a leave of absence. Some said she went home to recuperate, and others said she transferred schools. In short, she never appeared in my life again, and my life got back on track. I secured my graduate program recommendation, my studies went smoothly, and I used my spare time to work with my advisor on a very promising project, for which we received a $2,000 prize. I used that money to buy myself a new computer and treated Jake to a meal at the city's most upscale restaurant. Life was carefree and pleasant. Sometimes I would think of the original owner. If he hadn't chosen silence, if he had been a bit braver, perhaps he could have had a life like this too. But sadly, there are no ifs. All I could do was carry his share and live better. Because of it, time flew, and before I knew it, I was a senior. The postgraduate recommendation settled, and I was taken on by a top professor at my university, researching the area I was most interested in, artificial intelligence. Although Jake didn't get the recommendation, with excellent grades and substantial practical experience, he signed with a well-known domestic internet company, Aurora Tech, and his future looked bright. Our dormitory became the most envied top students' dorm in the department. Life seemed to be moving in the best possible direction. That day, I was running data in the lab when my supervisor suddenly called me in his office. "Ethan, next month there's a Municipal Youth Science and Technology Innovation Forum. Our lab has one recommended spot, and I want you to go." The supervisor smiled and handed me a document. I was flattered and taken aback. "Professor, I just joined the lab. I'm afraid I'm not qualified yet, right?" "Whether you're qualified isn't decided by seniority. It depends on ability." The supervisor patted my shoulder, his eyes full of approval. "The data model you made for that last project was excellent, very creative. This forum is a great opportunity. It'll let you meet many industry leaders and broaden your horizons. Go on, prepare well, and don't embarrass me." "Yes, thank you, teacher." I eagerly took the materials, my heart brimming with determination. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I had to seize it with both hands. For the next month, I practically lived in the lab and the library. I went through a large amount of literature, repeatedly revised my speech and PPT, striving for perfection. Seeing me work so hard, Jake couldn't help but complain, "Ethan, are you trying to outwork the entire department to death?" I smiled. It's a rare opportunity. I have to live up to the supervisor's trust. On the day of the forum, I stood in the conference hall of the City Exhibition Center wearing a newly bought suit. Seated below were experts and scholars from major universities, research institutes, and well-known companies. I took a deep breath, stepped onto the podium, and began my presentation. I was speaking about the application of a new type of algorithm in the field of image recognition. At first, I was a little nervous, but as I spoke, I became completely absorbed. I presented my understanding of the field, my innovative ideas, and my experimental data clearly and systematically to everyone present. When the 15-minute talk ended, there was a moment of silence in the audience, followed by thunderous applause. I knew I had succeeded. In the following Q&A session, several industry heavyweights showed strong interest in my project and asked me several very professional questions. I responded calmly to each one, answering smoothly. Finally, a technical director from the country's top tech company, Aurora Tech, even extended an olive branch to me on the spot. "Ethan, your idea is excellent. Our company is setting up a new AI lab and would very much welcome talent like you. Here's my business card. If you're interested after graduation, feel free to contact me anytime." I took the business card, my heart trembling with excitement. Aurora Tech. That was the place every computer science student dreamed of. It all felt as wonderful as a dream. After the forum ended, my name caused a stir around the school once again. "Ethan is awesome." He was directly noticed by the director at Aurora Tech. Now that's a real academic god. Night and day compared to those frauds who rely on plagiarism. Sophia must have been blind back then, losing a watermelon to pick up sesame seeds. She must be racked with regret now. Whenever people talked about me, they inevitably mentioned those two names that were already nearly forgotten. Dylan was still furthering his studies in prison. As for Sophia, after she took a leave of absence, there was no further news. It was as if that person had never appeared in my life. Days passed one by one. My life was busy and full. Besides studying and doing research, I also began to consciously expand my social circle. In an academic salon, I met a junior from the foreign languages department. Her name was Chloe Reed. She looked pure and adorable, with a cheerful, generous personality and two faint dimples when she smiled. She was a volunteer at our salon, responsible for the simultaneous interpretation. Her fluent spoken English and confident, composed presence left a deep impression on me. After the salon ended, I proactively asked her for her contact information. We began chatting from academics to films, from travel to food. There was always more to talk about. Being with her, I felt very relaxed and happy. It was a feeling I had never experienced when I was with Sophia. My relationship with Sophia had been, from the start, full of the original girl's one-sided giving and flattery. He loved her meekly and cautiously. But with Chloe, it was equal and mutually magnetic. I knew I might be falling for her. One weekend, I asked Chloe to go to a newly opened bookstore cafe. We sat by the window, the sunlight warmly falling on us. She held a cup of latte, listening intently as I recounted amusing stories from the lab, occasionally letting out a bell-like laugh. In that moment, looking at her smiling face, I suddenly felt that the people and events of the past really were very, very far from me. At that moment, the cafe door was pushed open and a familiar yet strange silhouette stepped in. It was Sophia. She had lost a lot of weight and tanned. Wearing plain clothes, her face bore the kind of fatigue carved by life. She seemed to be working here, holding a tray and a rag. When her eyes met mine in the air, her whole body went rigid. The tray in her hand tilted, and the cup on it clattered to the floor and shattered. Everyone in the cafe turned their gaze to her in unison. Her face flushed bright red in an instant. Sophia panicked and crouched down, fumbling to pick up the shards of glass from the floor. Store manager Mr. Ryan rushed over at the sound. Seeing the scene, he immediately scolded loudly. "Sophia, what are you doing? Hands off! Do you not want this month's bonus, or what?" Sophia kept her head down, apologizing repeatedly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." Her voice was choked with sobs, utterly disheveled. I watched her quietly, not a flicker of emotion in my eyes. Chloe noticed my oddness, followed my gaze, then softly asked me, "Do you know her?" I withdrew my gaze, shook my head, and spoke calmly. "No, I don't know her, just someone unrelated." After speaking, I picked up the menu on the table, handed it to Chloe, and smiled. "Do you want to try the tiramisu here? I hear it's good." Chloe glanced at me, then at the disheveled figure being scolded in the distance, and nodded thoughtfully. "All right." And so, we continued our afternoon tea, as if everything that had just happened was merely a minor incident. Sophia quickly tidied up the mess on the floor, then lowered her head and hurried into the back kitchen, never to come out again. I know, she saw me. She also saw Chloe by my side, saw how happily we were chatting. She also heard my cold, resolute, "I don't know you." This might be the best punishment for her. Let her watch with her own eyes how well I'm doing without her. Make her understand what kind of precious love she once gave up. Make her spend the rest of her life in endless remorse. When I left the cafe, the sunset was beautiful. Golden light flooded the entire street and fell on Chloe and me. "Let's go, I'll walk you back to the dorm." I said, "Okay." She smiled and walked beside me on the sidewalk. Our shadows were stretched long behind us. In my mind, the last barrage of comments drifted by. "Congratulations, host. You have completely broken free from the past and begun a brand new life. Throw confetti. This is the kind of happy ending a wish fulfillment story should have." The ex-girlfriend is full of remorse. The brown-nosing guy rots in prison. The male lead marries a rich, beautiful woman and reaches the pinnacle of life. Perfect. I looked at Chloe's bright smile beside me, and the corner of my mouth lifted slightly. Yes, perfect. Goodbye to those absurd people and events. Goodbye to that cowardly past. My future is the stars, is the sea. It belongs to me alone, with endless possibilities.